Greetings, citizens of the world. This is an anonymous news reports. The COVID-19 coronavirus has dominated international news in recent weeks, but there are many smaller stories that are slipping through the cracks that illustrate the full extent of what our Earth is experiencing. As the outbreak has grown, the information about the illness that has filtered down to the public continues to become more serious. At first, people were thinking that only the elderly were at risk, but now, many young people are being hospitalized and even losing their lives to the virus. Initially, health officials told us that we could avoid the virus simply by washing our hands and not touching our faces, but this week, the CDC in the United States finally began telling citizens that they should wear masks in public, because it is possible that the pathogen can be transmitted through the air from someone talking, not just coughing or sneezing. In some regions, lawmakers are threatening to fine people up to $1,000 for leaving their house without a mask. Meanwhile, more high-profile figures around the world continue to become ill with the virus. Earlier this week, anonymous news reported that Boris Johnson, the Prime Minister of the UK, has been hospitalized in the intensive care unit after his coronavirus symptoms took a turn for the worse. Virginia Giuffre, one of the most outspoken human trafficking victims of the disgraced and allegedly deceased billionaire Jeffrey Epstein, was recently hospitalized with coronavirus-like symptoms and is currently awaiting her test results. The increasing prevalence of serious symptoms in young and otherwise healthy people is certainly concerning, but so is the heavy-handed response from the governments and political organizations of the world. Even the New York Times and other prominent outlets have recognized that opportunistic autocrats are using the current pandemic as a chance to seize more power for themselves. Months of transgressions against citizens have already been seen in China over the course of the outbreak, but similar tactics are now being used in the Western world to enforce the quarantines. These large-scale quarantines have had a variety of unintended consequences in society, especially when it comes to the economy. This week saw record unemployment numbers in the United States, with over 6.6 million people filing for unemployment benefits and many more expected in the coming weeks and months. In fact, there are so many people rushing to file for unemployment right now that the websites where applications are filled out have been crashing in many states. According to the Bloomberg Billionaire Index, the world's 500 richest people have lost nearly $1.3 trillion since the beginning of the year. Still, it is the lowest earners who are hit the hardest, because many of them are already struggling to find food to eat just weeks into the shutdown. Lines have stretched for miles outside of food banks across the country in the past week. In Los Angeles, homeless single mothers calling themselves the Reclaimers have begun to occupy vacant homes to get themselves off the street during this dangerous time. In other cities, local governments have promised temporary housing in hotels for the homeless, but there are fears that the homeless population could explode in the coming months as a result of the unemployment crisis. Stay tuned for our next update. We are Legion. Expect us.